Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to section 2 of local content. Kindly brace yourself for a 1 hour long session as we will be going through the local content documentation. You will note as we go through the documentation that it is a very, very tedious job. However, it is important for us to do that because it actually shows us as South Africa, also as government, what do we have in terms of manufacturing in the country. You will note that the country, we are experiencing a high rate of unemployment, which means that we need to start thinking differently on how we're doing things as a country. We need to start thinking of manufacturing. We need to start thinking of doing our own product rather than always importing and always being the distributor. We need to consume our own manufactured product. Like I said in the previous session, that we will divide this section into two. Today we'll be looking into the last part, which is the local content documentation. You will see there we have SBD and MBD 6.2, Annexure C, D, and E. We have guidance document for local content calculation and exemption letter. When you are bidding for tenders or quotation that has got local content as a criteria, over and above the documents that you have been receiving, you will also receive SBD if you are bidding for the department and their entities, or MBD 6.2 if you are bidding for the municipality or their agencies. And you will also receive annexures, Annexure C, D, and E. The guidance document, you can actually download that from the DTIC website. This forms part of your document that will assist you in completing Annexure C, D, and E. So this is more like your memorandum that will guide you as to what needs to be put in every block of those annexures. So this is your Bible, this is your memo. This is something that will come in handy for the purpose of completing the annexures. And an exemption letter, you will not receive exemption letter from the procuring entity. However, this is the letter that you will request as a supplier. You will request from the DTIC in case you want to be exempted from a product that is locally manufactured, that is designated to be procured or to be sourced from the country, but because of some whatever reason you find yourself having to import that. So we will go through that document so that you can see what is happening with regard to that. Just as a recap from what we had discussed the other week, we have agreed that local content is that portion of the product whose manufacturing processes take place within the borders of South Africa from input material, raw materials, and or components that were sourced in the country. We still understand that even during local content, you might not be having all the capacity to be able to deliver. Hence, even under local content, subcontracting is still allowed. However, when you are subcontracting, you need to ensure that your subcontractor doesn't reduce the minimum threshold of any designated sector. So you mustn't subcontract in such a manner that it reduces the stipulated minimum threshold of the sector. Lastly, the exchange rate. If you're going to be importing, exchange rate come into play. However, the exchange rate that you will be using is the one published by the South African Reserve Bank at 12 o'clock on the date of the advert of the bid. I hope we are still together in that regard. When we are talking about local content, there are various documentation. There's also different stakeholders that come into play. We have the first stakeholder there as South African Bureau of Standard. We have the Department of Trade and Industry and Commission. We have the National Treasury. The other two stakeholders that I didn't include on the slide is the procuring entity and yourself. So the SABS is responsible for technical specification on the measurement and verification of local content. there will be the one that will be responsible for verifying whatever that you have said. So hence it is important that even after submitting your document, you need to keep them for at least a period of 5 years, so that when SABS come to do verification, all those documents are still available. The DTI responsible for guidelines on measurement and verification of local content. That is the document that I've referred to as a memorandum that will assist you in completing the annexures. They are also responsible for the template and annexures on the calculation of local content. The National Treasury is responsible for standard bidding document SBD or MBD 6.2 and the instruction notes for each and every designated sector. The procuring entity is the one that will advertise the tender, seeking for you to supply them with whatever that they need. And you, as another stakeholder, you are the one responding to the request according to the specification and the threshold that would have put on that specific item. Let's start with the standard bidding document, which is the SBD 6.2. Like I said, SBD, it stands for standard bidding document, and this is the document that you will use if you are bidding for a tender that has been advertised by the department or their provincial entities and national department and their national entities. However, if you are bidding for the municipality, it will be written MBD 6.2, which means municipal bidding document. The two documents are exactly the same. The only difference is what it's called. So if you are responding for the municipality, get the MBD. If you are responding for the departments, get the SBD. We have spoken to this section in our part 1, and even now when I was doing recap, I spoke to some of the things. However, let's go into 1.5. The local content expressed as a percentage of the bid price must be calculated in accordance with the SABS approved technical specification number sets 1286 of 2011 as follows. So this section, this that is highlighted in yellow, this is the local content calculation formula. So LC, which stands for local content, equals to open bracket 1 minus X over Y close bracket multiplied by 100. So this is the formula that the procuring entities supply chain officials will be using to check if you are meeting the minimum threshold. However, you are also at liberty to use it so that when you bid, you know for a fact that you have met the minimum threshold or you've also actually gone under. And obviously, if you've gone under the minimum threshold already, it will be known to you that you have not met the minimum threshold, which means you will be disqualified at that point. So the X there stands for important content in rent. The Y is the bidding price rent excluding VAT. For the purpose of calculating local content, VAT has to be excluded. Even if you are a VAT registered vendor, you don't have to include VAT when we calculate local content. You will include your VAT if you're a VAT registered vendor in your pricing schedule, but in the local content documentation, you have to exclude VAT. I did talk to this as well, that when you are importing, you will have to convert your exchange rate using the exchange. You will have to convert whatever import currency into rand value using the exchange rate as published by South African Reserve Bank at 12 o'clock on the date of the advert of the bid. So where the X there, if for example you imported whatever from US and it cost you $6, so you're gonna say $6 multiply by the South African exchange rate on the date of the advert to be able to get the value there, because we want to see what is the local production, what is the rent value, because South Africa we're using rent value, We don't use dollars or any other currency, so it is important to make sure that we convert whatever currency into the South African rand value. A bid may be disqualified if this declaration certificate, that is Annexure C, are not submitted as part of the bid documentation. So when we get into the annexures, you will note that this becomes a compulsory document to be submitted with the bidding documentation. Otherwise, you will be disqualified if you are not submitting it. So when you are bidding or any procuring entity seek anything from you as a supplier, and whatever that they are seeking or looking for falls within local content and it's a designated sector, this form, you will receive this form. And this is what they will complete. This section here will be completed by the procuring entity. This is more like your specification, where they are telling you what is it that they want you to supply them with. In this case here, I've given an example of shoes, of jacket, and golf t-shirt. Because all these three things, they are designated, therefore we need to also give you the minimum threshold. So every procuring entity, when they give you this part, they need to also tell you what is the minimum threshold that they are expecting, so that you know that when you deliver, you can deliver according to the stipulated minimum threshold. And in this case, everything is 100%, and all these products falls within clothing, textile, leather, footwear sector. So that is designated at 100%. And if you go into the instruction note issued by Treasury, you will see there even the golf t-shirt, the jackets, and the shoes are actually designated, or the minimum threshold is 100%. What is important here is that when we are procuring, what is important is that we need to give you the specification. So we cannot give you a brand. It is not recommended that we give you a brand name. However, we need to specify. Even here, I think my specification is not good enough because it just says shoe. So if you receive a specification like this, you don't know if I'm referring to a sneaker or a leather shoe or what. So it needs to be that specific to say a leather shoe, so that when you are responding, you know how to respond and what you are responding to. Does any portion of the goods or services offered have any important content? In this case, looking at the example that we have provided, there is no important content. Therefore, the obvious answer is no, because everything is 100%. However, if this golf t-shirt, for example, was sitting at 85%, then the answer was gonna be yes, because you have a product or a good that is offered at less than 100%. Therefore, 15% or whatever components of that t-shirt will have to be important to make it 100%, to make it a fully finished product that you will deliver to us. So depending on what you are given here, depending on what is available in the country, you will tick no if it's 100%. If you know that there are components, even if it's 100%, but there are components that you will be importing, then you will take a yes. This will also apply in situation where, for example, golf t-shirt is designated at 100%, but for some awkward reason, unfortunately, you are not able to get some of the inputs or material to make this golf t-shirt. Therefore, you will have a yes. But if you have a yes, because this was designated at 100%, you will need to have an exemption letter. We will talk to the exemption letter at the later stage. And then here it talks to the currency. Then you need to tick the currency where you are importing from and put the rate of exchange. Remember, it's the 12 o'clock on the date of the advert. In this case, let's say because everything there was 100%, as you have seen up there, everything is 100%. So in this case, this section here will be non-applicable for you because you don't have any imports. However, if you had imports, then you will tick the relevant currency and put the relevant rate of exchange for that currency. Every bid, when it's advertised, is got what we call a bid number. So you will put the bid number there, and then you will also put the name of the procuring entity. So if it's a Department of Education, you will put there. If it's a municipality, but then it will be on the MBD 6.2, then you will put the name of the municipality. So here is the name of the department or the institution that you are procuring on behalf of. And then here, this part needs to be signed by a decision-making person in the company. So a person with the decision-making power will sign this section. I know in many companies, you'll find that you've got your junior staff who are actually knowledgeable about these tender documents, who will complete the documents on behalf of the company. However, when it comes to signing this document, they must be signed with somebody with the decision-making power. So I, the undersigned, you put your name. For example, I will say I, the undersigned, Spiwe Ndlovu, do hereby declare in my capacity as the CEO of Ndlovu Pty Limited. So here is the name of the company, here is your designation, here is the name of the director or the CEO or whoever who is signing on behalf of the company. And then this section here, you will see I've actually put it in red because you will not be able to input anything here until you have dealt with all your annexures, especially Annexure C. So here, you need to get this information from your Annexure C, even this one from your Annexure C. However, this part here is as it's been provided for on your SBD as your specification. It will be that section here, this section here, this one. Then that one is the one, the information must tie with this one. Local content as calculated in terms of the sets 1286. So you also get this from your annexure. However, this as well, depending on the number of items, so it will be an average of the items that you would have calculated, but you get this information from Annexure C. So for example, if we were just buying a golf t-shirt calculated at 100%, the obvious answer here should actually be the same as the minimum threshold, because we don't expect you to be importing golf t-shirt. It's designated at 100%. Therefore, you need to give us that as it is. And then you sign here, and then you get the 2 witnesses, and then you date, and you submit this document together with your annexures and together with the other documentation. Please make copies of every document that you will be sending, because remember, you need to keep this document for 5 years. So in case that you are the one who's gonna win this tender or who will be awarded this bid, at least you will have copies of your documents as well. Moving along to the annexures. We have 3 annexures: Annexure C, Annexure C, this is my Annexure C, Annexure D, and Annexure E. Annexure C, it's a summary of Annexure D and E. Therefore, you will not be able to complete Annexure C without having dealt with Annexure D and Annexure E first. So you need to do these 2 annexures before you can go to Annexure C. And Annexure C is the one that you will be submitting together with your tender documentation. However, the procuring entity has got the right to ask you to submit all annexures with your tendering document. But in most cases, they will request you to submit only Annexure C and keep Annexure D and E. So, and when you are not submitting Annexure D and E, it doesn't mean don't complete it. You need to complete it, because after the award, if there's anything that they will need, one of the things that they might need is Annexure D and E, and this is also during the verification. So it is very important to make sure that you complete D and E and keep it completed, because some of the values that you would have inputted on Annexure D and E, it's whatever that you would have transferred to Annexure C. So make sure that they are also always completed, even though you only submitting Annexure C at that time. So let's start with Annexure E. Annexure E, like I said, is only for the imports. For local content. It's a local content declaration. Therefore, everything that you're going to be sourcing from inputs, from material, from any components that you are sourcing locally, you're going to put it under Annexure E. Note that VAT is to be excluded from all calculation. Remember as well that here you will be stripping components, you will be stripping items, but on Annexure C, you are giving me the actual item. So as the procuring entity, as you might have remember in my specification, I said I'm buying golf t-shirt, jackets, and shoes. So what you will be putting there, it's gonna come here. And therefore, I will also advise you to actually complete annexure per item, so that you don't exclude or miss any of your components, so that everything that you are supposed to use for this product is always included. So the tender number is the tender number that will appear on the tendering document. Let's give an example. Let's give an example of the tender number. It says GP Gauteng Province for the Gauteng Department of Economic Development 08632 of 2022, for example. The tender description that we're buying all those things. Let's just make an example of golf t-shirts here. Golf t-shirts. Designated product, it's clothing, textile, leather, and footwear. Style, leather, and footwear. Tendering authority is the GDED. This is the tendering authority. The tendering entity name is Ndlovu Pty Ltd. Some departments, when it comes to this section, they actually complete it on your behalf. The only part that you need to complete is E5. However, if they give you a blank document, it's your responsibility to complete it, because they don't have, it's not a must for the department to actually complete this section for you. You're supposed to complete it. It's just, if they did it, just take it as your bonus for that. However, when it's not completed, you need to complete it. And the example that I gave here, it's the golf t-shirt. So here you need to tell me, because we would have told you what type of a golf t-shirt, and in some cases we will even show you a sample of the t-shirt that you are looking at, and we will also request you to show us a sample of the material that you will be giving us. Not all the local content tenders will require you to give us a sample, but should they want a sample, you must always have that sample. So basically here what you need to do is to strip. Tell me what makes a golf t-shirt. I'm sorry, I'm not in the industry, so I might not have all the inputs, but for argument's sake, let's say this golf t-shirt is made of the polyester. The polyester material, polyester 100% material, 100% material, and then we also need the dye. Depending on the color, perhaps we are actually gonna be dyeing this. Then we're gonna also get the dye. We're also gonna get the whatever features, the cotton that you're gonna be using to thread, to sew it and all that. So where are you getting this polyester material? You're getting it from Spiwe Ltd. And like I said, for every item, let's have an annexure per item so that we don't miss our calculation. So this one is for the golf t-shirt. You will have another one for the jacket, and you will have another one for the shoes as per that. So how many, because we are actually calculating per item. Say for example, we were looking for 10 of those golf t-shirt, but for the purpose of this calculation, we're only gonna use one t-shirt. And to be able to get a one t-shirt, we just want 1 meter. And how much is 1 meter? The 1 meter is gonna cost me 100 rand. These are just example. The dye that I'm gonna be using is I'm getting it also from Spiwe. It might be from the same supplier. Even the cotton and everything that goes with that, I'm gonna get it from the same supplier. So the dye, the milliliters or the liters that I'm gonna need for this thing is gonna cost me 25 rand, and then the cotton itself is gonna cost me 25 rand as well. So in terms of the material or the inputs, I already need 150 rands. So 150 rands is what we're gonna put here, is the total product. It gives me 150 rands. So then the next question becomes, it's 150 rands. And then the next question becomes the manpower cost. How much does it cost you for your labor, people, to deliver this one, for you to actually make this thing? I'm paying my people 800 rand per day or per hour to do that, and I know a t-shirt will actually take a 1.5 hours to do it. So it's gonna cost me 100 rand for that. And my overhead, remember this talks to everything. There's wear and tears, and because of this project that we've given you, it actually affects your wear and tear. Remember, you are servicing your day-to-day customers. Over and above that, you are now having this extra work that you need to deliver on time, because you have participated and awarded this tender, and you have promised us that you're gonna give us locally manufactured goods and you will deliver on time. So your wear and tears, including the chemicals that you are using, those are overall overheads. So let's say they cost you 150 for argument's sake, and then in terms of the administration, markup, marketing and all that, remember all this, what you are putting here, all these 3 items here, what you are putting here, this thing, this here, it's as per your invoice. Therefore, you don't have to put the markup. If the invoice says 100 rand, you will also put 100 rand. Then the most important question becomes, but I am not a charity organization. I'm a business. I'm a PTY. I need to make profit. So if I will be spending 100 rand and be charging people 100 rand, the procuring entity might as well go directly to the suppliers of these things to go buy those finished product there. Then, however, you will note that here we have that space where you're gonna put your markup. So everything else, including whatever, it's gonna cost you 75 rand. So you need to now add this from here. You add from from E9. So from A9, you add that, it will show you Hori, it's 475. 475, and this is what you will transfer to Annexure C. But remember, you're not going to transfer to Annexure C immediately because this is just for one product. So you still need for the other two items that we didn't use as an example, because you need to input everything before you transfer to that part of the annexures. And then you come to Annexure D. Remember, here we were buying before you even go there, you need to sign this document and date it. It's important for you to sign, because if you didn't sign it, it might lead to disqualification. So sign and date it before you submit it, and then you go to Annexure D. Because we were buying a golf t-shirt that is 100% locally manufactured, the item there is 100% locally manufactured, therefore you will not complete Annexure D. So you will scratch it out and say not applicable, and then you will also sign it and date it there. If for argument's sake, let's say because of whatever situation beyond your control, this polyester material, unfortunately, you are not able to find it in the country. Therefore, you will need an exemption. This annexure is divided into 4 sections, which is exempted imported directly by the tenderer, and imported by a third party, and the other foreign currency. So you will only use this section here only if you've got an exemption letter. If you don't have an exemption letter, you do not complete this section. It is not relevant for you. It doesn't apply to you. So the other thing is the information that we put under Annexure E there at the top there, this one here, need to be transferred to Annexure D here. The only thing that is included now here is the exchange rate. So you will put the exchange rate that applies to you. Obviously, if you didn't import from any of this, then you will put the one that you imported from, and you put the name of the currency that you are using, and then you will put the exchange rate as at 12 o'clock on the date of the advert, as advertised by the South African Reserve Bank. So let's say you have an exempted import, that polyester cotton that you want to use to give me my golf t-shirt. Unfortunately, you are not able to get that in the country. Then what you will need is a exemption letter. Where do you get the exemption letter from? You get it from the DTIC. I will share the information of the people that you need to request the exemption letter from. The exemption letter is bid specific, so it will be only applicable for this bid that we are working on. So you will also write the procuring entity. Who are you procuring this on behalf of? What was the bid number? What is the closing date of that bid? Because this exemption letter is valid until the date of the closing for this tender. The item for which the exemption is being requested for. So you will be saying there is the polyester material. Description of good for which the requested exemption item will be used for. It's used for the golf t-shirt. So you attach the specification. So you will attach that copy of MBD or SBD 6.2 that was completed by the procuring entity. And you also need to say, why do you want an exemption? Because this product all this input or this component or this material is supposed to be available in the country, then you need to tell us why. The reason why you need to say all these things is so that, for example, if you were only aware of your supplier, you're not aware of other suppliers in the country, then they can be, the DTI will be able to share with you some of the suppliers that are available in the country. Remember, local content, it's about the base, it's about South Africa. So it can be that there are other suppliers in other provinces that you are not aware of. So before they issue you out with this, they need to understand the reason why. If you are just saying because my supplier who is Pure Ltd, they are on strike, therefore they will not be able to deliver, that is not a good enough reason, because chances are there are other suppliers, unless if maybe Pure is the only supplier in the country. Therefore, then that would be the good enough reason for you to get an exemption letter. Let me go back to the annexures. So you will put there the tender item number 1. Description of important content is the polyester material, 100% polyester material. Local supplier, this you only put in the case whereby you know that, for example, much as you are so used to getting this material from Pure, but there's also a Figile Pty Ltd that is actually keeping this material. However, you know for a fact that Figile is not keeping locally manufactured material, she's actually importing. Therefore, Figile will be your local supplier, and this is the overseas supplier of Figile. There are chances where Figile might not want to give you the name. If they don't give you the name, you don't know the name, but you do know the local supplier. But if you went overseas to go buy for yourself, then you will know where you got that. So you will know the overseas supplier. Then the foreign currency, how much did it cost you? So you put that foreign currency as they appear on the invoice. And then you put the exchange rate. Remember the exchange rate at 12 o'clock on the date of the bid. And then on D13, local value of imports. D13, what you need to put under D13 now, it's actually to multiply. D13, you actually multiplying D12 by D11. To be able to get the South African value. So this exchange rate, you multiply this invoice by that to get D13. And then the freight cost, you got this thing from wherever in, and then you need to actually bring it to the ports. It lands in Durban, they charge you the ports, and then you still have to bring it to all this. There's all those landing costs. If you fly in from there, there will be all those things that you will have to pay for. And then the total landed cost, excluding VAT. Then your D16 will be, you provide the total landed cost by adding column D13, D14, and D15 to get D16. And then here the quantity, how much. Remember we said per item, but therefore you're gonna need for the quantity of how much ever that you're gonna need to do this annexure. So because we are saying we want the annexure, we need 10 golf t-shirts. Therefore, you will need the material that will give you for 10, because you cannot now say for 1 in case by the time you want to deliver, you will not be able to get this. My apologies. I need to also emphasize that at this stage we are still not awarded, so you will still be looking at all various aspects that will come into play. So therefore, whatever that you will be putting here, it will be also talking to at the end the quantities that we want. Exempted important, which is D18. D18 is multiplying D16 by D17 to get D18. So you multiply D16 by D17 to get D18. And then D19 is the sum of everything that you would have put under your exemption. If you do not have an exemption letter, you cannot complete this section. Even if you want to import, because you are struggling to get that material, for the fact that you don't have an exemption letter, if you complete this, it will not be taken into consideration because there is no exemption letter. You didn't get the permission from DTI to import things that you were not supposed to import. And then you have B here and C. This is important directly, this is imported by a third party. This section here, this two section, you complete it because the item that you were given under your specification was less than 100%. Say for example, you are actually, we are procuring, we want you to deliver a high back leather chair. High back leather chair is designated at 85. So 85% of the components will go under Annexure E, and then 15% will go under Annexure D. Therefore, we need to first decide, Hori, are you going directly to go import? Are you gonna import it via a third party? A third party is somebody who's importing on your behalf, and you go and buy the things from them, and those people are already based in the country. So you need to decide, how are you importing? If you go in directly, then you complete this section. If you're gonna get them in the country via a third party, then you complete this section. I'm not gonna go through all this thing because it's the same information as what was contained under exempted important content. So you will follow the very same principle to complete the rest of the documents here, and then here depending on whatever that you are completing. And then the next thing is the other foreign currency payments. If over and above whatever that you have paid, there's other things that they are called, they want you to pay for, then you will put all those things here, and then you will have them, and then your D51 will be the summary of all those local payments. Sorry, this is local payments that you will be incurring. D51, you provide the local value of each payment by multiplying the foreign currency value paid in D49. Then it gives you this. So here you will say D49 multiplied by the exchange rate to get that one. So it will give you that, and then this will be a summary to say over and above all the cost that you paid on top there, there is this other cost that you actually also incurred that you need to be compensated for. Therefore, after you sign, and then you date, and then we go to Annexure C. Annexure C, remember we said it's a summary, and this is the document that you need to submit together with your top document. This is compulsory for you to submit on the closing date with other tendering documents. So on tender item number 1, you put there number 1, number 2, number 3. What is the list of the item? Now here we no longer stripping things. We putting them as finished product. It's a golf t-shirt that we are buying here. It's a golf t-shirt. It's that jacket. It's that leather shoe, for argument's sake. So, and the C10. C10, how much are you C10 will be how much are you now selling this this t-shirt to me. C10, we need to check on Annexure E. What did we say we are selling these things for? Okay, this is talking to C24. Okay, yes, we come to Annexure E. Remember, this is the total per t-shirt. So a t-shirt, we said, is going to cost us $4.75. So under C10 now, our t-shirt, we are selling this t-shirt for $475. I don't know if it's a realistic value, but yeah, for argument's sake, we are selling this for $475. Exempted micro and important content, we didn't because it was 100%. Therefore, it's 0. But if you had, remember, we had an example of a polyester that we were importing. Therefore, you will put the polyester per item here to say that value, how much was it? And then the net total, the tender value net of exempted important content. So under C12, what we need to provide there is we deducting C11 from C10. Then we still get 475 because it's 475 minus 0, it gives us 475. And then what is the import value? This is what we would have gotten from Annexure D section B. It's 0. There are no imports. So it's 0. In terms of the local value, the C14 there, this we provide by deducting by minusing C12 from C13. C13 we deduct it from C12. Then we still get 475 because it's a 0. And then the local content there, it's 100%. Remember that I'm gonna just write it here. Remember that formula we were using, LC equals open bracket 1 minus x over y close bracket multiply by 100. Multiply by 100. This is the formula. So x x is the important content. We don't have import, so it will be 0. It will be 0 over, we said our tender price is $4.75. This is the item. Multiply by 100. So now using the BODMAS rule, bracket exponent of division, let's write it BODMAS so you can see. Bracket exponents of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. We need to start working on the bracket. So already it showed me it has calculated itself. But here we're trying to calculate the local content percentage. So y 1 minus 0 over 475 multiply by 100. So we start with the division here. Division, anything that is being divided by 0 is going to give you 0. So at the end it's 1 minus 0 1 minus 0, close brackets, multiply by 100. Then 1 minus 0 is 1, multiply by 100, multiply by 100, it gives you 100%. So that's how you're going to use the formula to calculate using your price and your imports. If here we had a value instead of a 0, then it was going to also give us something so that you can see if you're meeting the minimum threshold or not. And then this side, remember we said we are buying 10 of those, and then under C17, then we're going to multiply this one, which is C10 multiplied by that. So it gives us 4,750. This is just an example. 4,750. And then under C18, what we need to do is to multiplying C11 by C16. C11 by C16, we're gonna get 0. Any number multiplied by 0, it gives us 0. So because we don't have imports, therefore that is why it gives us imports. And then C20 is a sum of these amounts here. It gives us that. C21 will be the total exempted is the sum of the value in column C18. So what do we have under C18? It's 0. It will become 0 there. And then C22, which is the tender value net of exempted important content. C22 is the total tender value of C20 minus C21. So under C21, we also had 0. Sorry, C20 is not 0 because there's that price now, 4,750. So under C21 is 0 because we don't have, and then C22 is the total value, which is C20 minus C21. So which is 4,750. And then C23 is the sum of the value in column C19. What do we have under C19? We don't have any imports. Our value there was 0. So we will have 0 under C23. This is when we are using a product that is 100% manufactured or designated in South Africa. But if we were using a high-back chair, remember high-back chair that we used as an example was designated at 85%, then there will be total important content. That 15% that will be either on section B or section C of Annexure D will actually go under this one. And then what is the total local content? In this case, C24 is the same as what we had on E23, which was 475. Remember? We had 475 on that local content. We had 475, and then what is the average tender thing? It's 100%. That is our average. And then sign, and then you sign, and then you date it. And then you submit this document. This is the document that you will submit together with your tendering documents, unless otherwise the procuring entity requested that all the annexures must be submitted with the tendering documents. Then you have to submit D and E as well, but otherwise you submit Annexure C. Let's go back into our presentation just to see if I've captured everything. Okay, this is the example again where we have an import, and then whatever that we're importing, when we're converting into South African rand, it was 10 rand. So if you do the calculation, it's 90%. So when you are being asked whatever to deliver, it's designated at 85, for example, and this is how much you end up with, then you still meet the criteria because you went over the minimum threshold. The only time you'll be disqualified is when your percentage is less than what is stipulated as the minimum threshold. And then, yeah, in conclusion, local content compliance in all designated sectors is a must by all government entities. So if a sector has been designated, unfortunately, we have to advertise it as such. And even you, when you bid, you need to bid using the criteria and the minimum threshold that has been put forward for that. And then the suppliers who will be sourcing this, the suppliers who are going to be awarded this tender will go through the process of verification. So in that process of verification, you need to make sure that you produce all the necessary documentation. And during the verification, the other thing that needs to be, or that will be verified, is the processes. And at some point, we'll actually want to visit the plant, the factory where these products are being manufactured, so that we can certify ourselves with regard to the processes and the system that are being used. Like I said, I'm going to share with you the details. This is the details of the DTI. If you want if you've got any queries related to local content, you can contact their helpline offices there. And then for any technical inquiries, or if you want a exempted letter, you can address it to this person and copy Dr. Makube, who is the chief director. Miss Catherine reports to Dr. Makube. So you can send that request to Catherine, copying Dr. Makube. The DTI always says that their turnaround time in terms of local content procurement exemption letters, it's 48 hours. So it becomes very critical that as soon as you receive the tender, don't wait till the last minute. Immediately check what is available, so that if you're gonna need the exemption letter, you can start that process as soon as possible. For any other local content complaints and inquiries, this is the local content email that you can send all your queries and information or whatever complaints to. And then this is my contacts, my landline, my cell phone, and my email address. You are most welcome to be in touch with me regarding local content. If there's any clarity that you need, you can always drop me an email. You can always drop me a WhatsApp. Most of the time, I'm actually not on the landline. So if you happen to find me on landline, it's fine. But then if you're going to send me an email, that would be the best way to do it, so that I'm able to respond to your email. If you're going to be sending me a message on my cell phone, please write the detailed message, so that when I come back to you, I know exactly what is it that I need to have clarified, or that I need to clarify to you. Lastly, I know it's a lot and it's tedious, but it's very important for us to do. Like I said, it's so that we can be able to understand what is happening in our country. We don't want monopoly. We don't want another situation. Remember, for those drivers who still today are still awaiting for their they are still not able to get the dates for renewing of their driver's license, because we had only one machine which was broken and had to be taken to Germany to be fixed. So you can imagine, if we can get somebody to manufacture that machine here, it means that in terms of manufacturing, there's a job created, but we will also create another job or jobs in terms of maintaining and servicing the very same machine. So it is very important for us to understand, so that we can be able to see as government, but to see as a country, where is monopoly, how can we bridge it, how can we address it, so that we don't find ourselves with that. With that being said, I must also confirm and emphasize that I do not assist anybody with completing currently running tenders. So even if you've got a current running tender, please do not call me and ask me to complete that for you, because I don't do that. For any technical specification, every tender, page 3 of every tender has got contact in terms of administration. If you've got questions regarding administration, those are the people you can actually forward all your queries and questions to. If there's any technical questions that you have, there is also a person to contact. So before you can even come to me, please use the relevant contacts that has been provided. I'm not saying I'm not gonna assist you in terms of responding to questions. In principle, I will assist. In principle, in terms of responding to questions that have been asked, but I will not assist anybody to complete a tender document. Having said that, thank you very much, and wishing you all the best in your businesses and in this journey of local content. Thank you once again. Bye.